So what has been happening with that? Well, I've been working a little bit on my technologies, to be honest, and the plan here is to try and get these technologies linked together. And the reason why I'm going through that, and the reason why I want to do that, is because from what I'm reading, prior to the No Man's Sky Next patch, the technologies when linked together have a slight boost. And this hasn't been changed since the 1.5 Next update happened. So applying, for example, 3 mining together, the stats that you see there are slightly upgraded when you're able to put them next to each other. And it doesn't have to be in a straight line like this. They can be diagonal, they can be in an L shape, as long as they're touching. I didn't believe this at first, to be honest. I really thought that was just a gimmick, that was just something that people were saying. But to be honest with you, after looking at quite a few different channels and quite a few different content creators for this game, it seems to be true. It seems to be very true. And there are people out there who are using their jetpack to get up to their freighter in the atmosphere and not having to use their ship. And it just goes to show that that must be why. So today, guys, what we're going to actually do is I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks I can in relation to getting all of your upgrades that you will find necessary and very useful, and the best way that you can get multiple of them without having to farm too many systems as well. Now, I found through the last few days searching for the right mods and all of those sorts of things, a lot of cool tricks that I probably could have used along the way, and I probably could have had these upgrades as soon as possible. So let's jump straight into it. I'm going to show you guys everything that I do have here, starting with the Exosuit. Now, there are a couple of rules involved with having to do these upgrades and having to place these upgrades. Rule number 1, and this is probably the most ridiculous part of the game that they probably should change in relation to the modules. Rule number 1 is you don't know the statistics until you install. So that might seem ludicrous, and as a matter of fact, I think it is as well, but it's just RNG. It's just RNG. So the stats that you see here, let's start with, hang on a second, let's start with, here we go, let's start with the movement system upgrades that I've got. Okay, so we see 4 stats there. And again, because I have them linked, they're slightly boosted as well. But we see 4 stats there: fuel efficiency, jetpack tanks, initial boost power, and sprint distance. And they all have percentages attached to them, which are all RNG based, okay? You're not gonna get that RNG roll until you actually install the module. And the only way for me that you should really be improving this is by deleting the one with the stats that you don't like, or the stats that you like least, and then replacing it with the same module in that area. So the first question is, I would usually get in this situation is, well, how do you get yourself that many nanites? There are a few ways to get nanites. There are quite a few ways. And there are ways to farm nanites. You can go on different runs. You can take up as many missions as you can and go on different runs. You can sell modules, and back in the day when cloning items or duping items was actually a thing, you can dupe modules and sell them back for nanites as well. Pretty sure in the most recent patch that duping has been pretty much fixed. There are probably still a couple of ways around it, but I wouldn't recommend that way to get yourself nanites. I would say farm nanites as best you can through doing missions, but at the same time, if you come across, and I'll see if I've actually got any in my inventory, I don't think I do. But you can refine nanites out of mold, and you take that mold, you pop it inside the refiner, and you get yourself up to 50 nanites at a time. And that's how I've been doing. I've been doing it that way, as well as just doing lots of missions. And you know, the reason why you see in my inventory so many of the same type of module is quite simply because there's a really quick and easy way to get yourself the same module that you find without having to find multiple systems that have that same S-Class module. So the biggest tip I can give you in that sense is you want to go for 3 to 6 of a certain module, and it all depends on where you're installing that module. To clarify that a little further, I'll show you my technology batch here. So you might notice that after upgrading so many slots. You've got a fair bit of room in this technology area, and you might notice just by looking at mine that I've got the same modules. So these are again movement system upgrades, these guys, and if I go back, I've got them here as well. The simple rule around this is that you can only install 3 into one inventory system. But if you really want the equivalent of having 6 of them, you can also install another 3 into the technology slot as well. And this is really key, in my honest opinion, in getting yourself the stats that you really want, so that you can go out there and just fight anything you want. You can go out there and stand in any conditions that you want, all of those sorts of things. So I have opted for defense shields, I have opted for movement because I find movement extremely important, and I've opted for life support. I'm still going to throw something else in there, probably something along the lines of a, I don't know, maybe one of these guys here, the thermal protection or radiation protection. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to go with that, but we'll soon see where that goes. But at this stage, based on these rules, you can install up to 6 of everything in your exosuit. Okay, the same goes with your starship. I don't have a lot of slots in this particular exotic ship, but if I was to show you my my large hauler, then you would see that I've got everything that I actually want in that hauler installed 6 times. Okay, but you know, I haven't really played with this for a while in this exotic ship, but basically I have my pulse engines upgraded here, and I have pulse engines and hyperdrive upgraded inside here. Photon cannons and, you know, phase beams, everything that you can install, you can get yourself up to 6 of. Okay, so I would say if you have multiple ships, in my personal opinion, choose 1 weapon. So what I've done here is I've chosen 2. I've got photon cannons and phase beams, but I honestly don't think you need to upgrade 2 weapons. I really don't. What I intend on doing with this particular ship is I'm going to get rid of these photon cannon upgrades, and I'm going to get rid of the photon cannon, so I have at least a little bit of space on there. I'm going to concentrate heavily on the phase beam, and I'm going to install defense shields and phase beam throughout, and give myself a little bit of space to hold on to things as well. Because I think that ultimately, if you want to fight in that particular ship, then ultimately you want to concentrate on that. If you want to travel in a particular ship, then ultimately you want to concentrate on that. This ship, I want to be able to fight, and I want to be able to travel, so I'm concentrating on hyperdrive, and I'm concentrating on phase beam. And I think if I get rid of these photon cannon upgrades here, then it'll give me a little bit more room to play with those sorts of things. But you're going into my multi-tool, and this is where things change for all of us, because the multi-tool doesn't have technology slots. They are all technology slots there. These slots aren't designed to hold or store anything the same way the Starship and the Exosuit do. So what you really want to do in this scenario is you want to try and keep them together, and I'm slowly working my way through doing that. Again, you can have up to 3, and you want them all to be S-Class if you can possibly do that. Now, let me go back to what I was actually talking about in relation to being able to get yourself the same 3 S-Class modules without having to run around to different systems. Okay, so I'll just show you here. Okay, so this guy is going to sell me upgrade modules, and every single time I load into this space station, his inventory will be reset. And from what I'm noticing from this is that they will have the same thing every time. The only thing that will change is when you actually click the install and you get that RNG stats. And once you get those RNG stats, that's always going to be different for every single time you install. That's always the case. But what I will say is if you're looking for a specific S-Class module and you find it, so say for example I like this thermal protection module, let's grab it. Just to prove a point, let's grab it. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I really want that thermal protection module. Okay, and now I want another one. Rather than going now to a different system, searching, trying to find who else will sell it, I can actually just go straight back to my ship here, and I'm going to do it now. And I can reset it by getting in and out, creating a restore point, and loading that restore point. So I've hopped out, restore point saved, and now you're going to see me, oops, and now you're going to see me load that autosave. What I'll also say is, just in case the restore point didn't work, you want to check the timer on that autosave. So I currently have 11:28 on there. Looking at my clock, that's 11:28. Perfect. Alright. Now flow that same restore point, and we're going to go back to the same vendor. And you will see the upgrade happening. It's, in my opinion, this is the best way to get yourself 3 to 6 of the module that you're looking for. Okay, the S classes are quite pricey. As you can see, they're around about 450 nanites. So you really do want to farm your nanites before you go on these hunts. But as you can see, thermal protection module, the same one that I just bought. It's for high temperature environments. It's exactly the same, and I can go ahead and buy another one, and I can continue to do that until I've got the number that I need. Now, another tip that I would give you is going into your discoveries. Okay, so you go into your discoveries and you look at the system that you're on. I've already named it a really long time ago, but if you haven't uploaded that system, and what I would say is your best bet is to rename and upload that system based on what you found. And I'll show you. I should have. So I've named these really simple words. I'm not going to go and give them some fancy name just to make it sound cool. I've found that the best way to do, when you find something that you like, the best way to rename these systems is so that you know what's in there, okay? And prior to a couple of patches ago, there were a few problems with uploading and naming and all that sort of thing, especially trying to go through your discoveries to find what kind of system it was and what you found on that system and what materials might be available there. So I just started naming them what I liked about them. So this was a wealthy system, and I liked this particular system, so I named it wealthy. So I knew every time I went up to the teleporter and I wanted to go through that Stargate thing, I knew that if I wanted to go back to the wealthy system, then I'd be able to do that. It's a little bit easier now with the patches as well to keep track of them all. Here we go. There it is right there. You see that? Shield and movement S mods. I now know that if I want shield and movement, that the guy at this place here, that one right there, will sell it to me. How great's that? Found a wealthy material fusion system, all that sort of thing. So I would say rename them based on what you found. Then you know when you're hopping back through to buy or sell, you know everything that's there. Okay, so it'll be the same thing with all of these guys. At the same time, if you find a multi-tool that you like, again, you could rename it based on the multi-tool you find. Obviously, this is not going to be for me. If I compare, mine's way better. But the point is that things that you find on these space stations, you can just rename and upload, and then you'll always have track of that. So going back to our original our original topic in the video, and that is all of these different mods and how to use the mods and what sort of mods to go for. I'm going to show you now in my Exosuit what it is that I've been going for, what I found to be really helpful, what I found to be not so helpful. I'll also show you guys in my multi-tool what I found helpful as well, and hopefully that helps you out in understanding what sort of things you can be going for, what sort of things you can be doing. The first thing I'm going to point out is in the multi-tool. Now, if you're low on credits and you like exploring, and you like the idea of getting paid for your exploration a lot more than you do, you notice that when you use the scanner and it says units received, you get X amount of units. To be honest with you, that's fine and dandy, and it's great to explore different things and upload those, and you'll get nanites as well. But while you're doing it, you might as well get paid a fair bit more, and the best way to do it is to have these guys here, the Analysis Visor upgrade. Now, just looking at the stats here, Flora analysis rewards plus 7,819%. Fauna analysis rewards plus 9,643%. Plus additional scan radius of 31%. So the scan radius obviously will pick up things further away when you use your scanner. That's pretty handy as well. But it's all about the money for me for this. And every time I hit a new planet, I immediately scan everything in my vicinity, and I get myself truckloads, and I'm talking very high amounts of units. And it depends on what you're scanning, obviously. Your fauna will actually get you the most units. So if you can find fauna, scan those as soon as possible. And the really basic ones don't give you much, but you know, I'm getting upwards of 200, 300, 400, 500,000 units even, depending on what it is that I'm scanning every single scan. And that money just adds up super quick. So if you like to explore, if you like the idea of earning quick and easy units, you're going to be making money much better if you use this particular system. Now again, I just want to reiterate that you want to put them together. You want them touching, because you'll get a little bit of a bonus in those rewards as well. So based on all 3 of these bonuses that I've got here, my fauna has gone up almost 30,000%. That's ridiculous, right? 30,000% in my rewards just for scanning items. So if you can find yourself a Visor upgrade, then you will be super happy in getting 3 of them installed and installing them next to each other. So that would be my best tip in terms of which ones to go for. For the mining beam, again, the mining beam I think is really great. If I was to show you my... So again, I've got 3 installed next to each other, the upgrade and the advanced mining beam as well, but this helps with, the biggest one in my opinion is the fuel efficiency. You don't have to continue to reload it all of the time. And the heat dispersion is also great. You can actually stand there and you can mine for a lot longer before you have to stop, let go, start again. And you can mine bigger things without taking a break. Overall, having the 3 of them put together, it makes a huge difference to your mining beam, and I highly recommend you grab those as well. If we talk weapons and the multi-tool, for me, in my personal opinion, the best weapon is the plasma launcher. It actually took me a really long time to find a plasma launcher upgrade in the S class, but even when I had B's and C's installed here, it was still a significant upgrade to the damage and to the explosion radius, and I found the plasma launcher to be absolutely fantastic. If you're ever going to secure facilities, they're great for blowing open the door really quick if you're not using your ship to do so. If you're coming across the huge sentinels, the mech sentinels, I like to call them walkers, then you will be able to use these plasma launchers really quickly to remove their armor and be able to destroy them super quick. One shot in this, I can absolutely blow almost anything up. It's super strong. The sentinels that look like dogs, those guys just die super quick as well. I also upgraded the boltcaster. You'll notice there are some things attached to some of these mods, okay? So this particular one looks quite simple, but it has something called bounce potential, and you'll also see this in some of the boltcaster as well. Ricochet module is right there, so you'll see some ricochet on some of the bolts. It also turns the ammunition into a laser. So again, the addition of certain things, they don't stack, but once you've got them on one of them, then that will change that particular weapon that you're using. So the ricochet module is enabled on this one, and just because I have ricochet module on all 3 of them doesn't mean that the ricochet goes up. It's just an enabled module. Okay, so something to keep in mind there. But bounce potential plus 100%, these things will stack. Because they're just percentage based. So bounce potential 100% will turn into 200% plus 300%. So I mean, it doesn't really matter, obviously, because 100% is always, so that's not going to matter. But if you have anything percentage based, they will always stack. There are a lot of great weapons there. There really are. And you can choose between all of them. But the same thing as what I said with the Starship, I think it's good to utilize this space the best way you can, and in doing so you don't really want to choose too many weapons. You want to have 4 or 5 weapons when you can just completely wreck things with the plasma launcher, and your boltcaster damage is quite good as well if you just want to use your basic weapons. Sometimes the boltcaster is better because the plasma launcher is not good for things that are quite close to you, especially with the explosion radius bonuses that are there. So that's why I opted to have both boltcaster and the plasma launcher. But a lot of people are installing, I'll show you the ones that are available. Pulse spitter, very good weapon. If you upgrade it, it's a lot of fun. It really is. I find it not necessary if you've got your boltcaster upgraded, but that's always there. Blaze javelin, I like it, but it's more of a really slow sort of shooting thing. It's a type of weapon you've got to charge for a while and then release. The more you charge it, obviously the more damage it does. It's such a slow shooter, and it only shoots in one big beam at a time, that I didn't find that particularly useful, so I got rid of it. The pulse spitter and the scatter blaster, in my opinion, are very, very similar. I prefer the pulse spitter to the scatter blaster, but I mean, they're both quite good. The scatter blaster is supposed to be the rarer of the two. So that's a multi-tool. I'm going to quickly go through the Exosuit upgrades that I think are really great. You can just see it by looking at what's on the screen right now. But basically, I like to go for these guys here, and these are all the different protection upgrades, okay? I find that having the defense system upgrade is really good for actual combat, but these guys here, if you want to spend more time outside of your ship or outside of the buildings, you want to be out in the environment, then these are the guys to go for, okay? You can just keep topping these up with ion batteries, you know, so it uses ion batteries, and one ion battery will charge the whole thing, and they last a while, they really do. And I found I could just stand out in the middle of pretty much every single storm now, and I don't have to stress. I really don't. These things will go down quite slowly, and when they eventually do, bang, ion battery. Just carry a couple of those around with you. Then, you know, I've got 3 there. I've got a couple more, I think, in somewhere, probably in the starship. Outside of that, I will always say go for movement system. It enables better, obviously, movement speed, but it obviously upgrades your fuel within your jetpacks, and the jetpack tanks go up pretty significantly per upgrade. 219% on that one, 201% on that one, 206% on that one. That alone is worth having these upgrades, but you also get your fuel efficiency, you get your initial boost power, which is, if you want to do the melee jump, that actually counts as well. And your sprint distance, so good, the sprint distance. If you're running away from something that could potentially finish you off, you're on pretty much no health, and you run out of jetpack tanks, then you obviously want to be sprinting for the rest of the time until the jetpack refuels itself. So, you know, sprint distance is really, really helpful as well. These gravity pumps, you know, it doesn't matter which one you go for, gravity pump, gravity nozzles, they're just different names really. It's just an RNG, they just reload, it's, you know, and it'll just become what it is, but you'll still get pretty similar stats within all of them, as long as you obviously choose the S-Class. We've talked a bit about that. In the thermal protections, you can, and it's not as common, but you can get thermal protection for cold. I actually can't find where I picked up that last S-Class one, so in its place I've got a B-Class one there, but I've still got 3. This obviously very much helps for those planets that you want to go down and you want to pick up things like frost fingers and things like that to make glass. So colder planets, warmer planets, and different toxicities here. You know, this is your toxic protection, this is your radiation protection, and those are the ones I'd say go for the most. Your life support's obviously important, obviously gives you much more health, and if your health starts going down, it'll go down dramatically slower when you've got so much extra health. You jump into my technology screen, and I'm giving myself again 3 S-Classes for health, 3 S-Classes for movement, and 3 S-Classes for defense. I'm gonna grab probably 1 kind of thermal protection to add to it, and I'll be happy with that. I think I'll be pretty stoked with all of those upgrades. In your ship, I don't know what you have and what you haven't used, but your scanner, that's the economy scanner, I should have called it what it was, and your conflict scanner, so the 2 different types of scanners that I've got there, extremely helpful. Originally I did have the different warp drives installed on here, but to be honest with you, I didn't find any advantages in going to the different colored systems. And if I was traveling and I wanted to hold on to those warp drives, I probably would use it in a ship with much more inventory space. This is a really bad example, this ship, because I haven't touched it in such a long time, and I only really use it to warp. I only really use it to warp between different systems. If something attacks me, I can easily fight it off with what you see in front of you here, because I've got good shields, I've got good damage, all that sort of thing. But when I go and I want to do some farming, this is definitely not the ship for me. I would rather go for a hauler or something with a lot more slots, and just use that for my farming materials. It's important that when you look at the conflict scanner, you use it inside your settings. It's good to use it, because if you're going down with a ship that doesn't have great defenses and you're simply going to farm, this will give you an idea of, you know, what sort of risk you will be taking along the way as well. That's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I hope you really enjoyed today's content. I had a lot of fun making today's video, and just been playing around with these modules over the last few days, and I just thought I could share this information to help everyone else out there who might be having a little bit of trouble with what to do and what to get and the best ways to find them and all those sorts of things. If you're having trouble getting yourself nanites, then don't worry. I will be happy to make a video if I get enough requests. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do that. It's really easy getting nanites fast, and I'm very happy to show you guys exactly how to do that. Other than that, if you did like today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.